person, as was the rule that was requested by the House Chair originally, that people come in person to the House to do questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Badnos. Firstly, you stood on the wrong rule, but I allowed you with discretion. The issue of the ministers being here personally in the House, as well as the Deputy President being here in the House, we've allowed the ministers previously to answer questions virtually. So in terms of that, we have now taken a decision that the Deputy President will answer questions virtually. And that is why we've requested all members with follow-up questions to be in the House. So, as the Whippery, we've that as a presidium. Could we continue? I'll now greet the Honorable Deputy President and welcome him into the NCOP sitting on the virtual platform, and I will request the Deputy President to answer the first question that came from the Honorable Chief Whip of the NCOP, the Honorable Moimang. Deputy President, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Let me thank Honorable Moimang for this important question. Honorable members, as I said before, water is life. Water is a fundamental human right as outlined in Chapter 2 of our Constitution. This morning, President Ramaphosa opened the Water and Sanitation Summit convened by the Minister of Water and Sanitation. The summit is convened to ensure that we avoid potential water crisis, and secondly, to ensure that we provide reliable and quality water throughout the country. President has established a water task team, which I am currently chairing, working with ministers and water authorities to provide clean water and sanitation services to all communities. In executing its task, the water task team has been conducting outreach programs, inspections, and oversight visits to assess challenges in communities affected by water supply challenges. The water task team, in collaboration with the Department of Water and Sanitation, COCTA, MISA, National Treasury, and the Infrastructure Fund, has developed intervention strategies to support various municipalities to improve their water and sanitation services. In addition, the Presidential Itegwini Working Group was established by the President to implement the turnaround strategy and action plans that leverage government and private sector resources, expertise, and capabilities to address water and sanitation challenges in eThekwini Metro and surrounding areas. As part of addressing funding challenges, the Department of Water and Sanitation has set up a water partnership office that assists municipalities to contract for public-private partnerships. A vehicle for achieving this is the Infrastructure Fund, which is a blended finance instrument aimed at making infrastructure projects attractive for the private sector. Honorable Chairperson, to assist municipalities that are impacted by aging infrastructure, government is also implementing the following interventions. Implementation of a more effective water conservation and demand management program to ensure that industries use water sparingly. This includes implementation of water restrictions with the aim to reduce consumption and ensure sustainable distribution of water to residents. Secondly, COCTA has established municipalities perform turnaround strategies that are aimed at providing an overview of plans and areas requiring national and provincial support, focusing on the 10 worst performing municipalities in the Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Northwest, and the Northern Cape. Development of multi-year reliable water and sanitation services, delivery implementation plans to assess delivery, have identified solutions, thereby prioritizing projects for grant funding. The Department of Water and Sanitation, Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency, Department of Human Settlement, and National Treasury are allocating over 60 billion rand per annum to municipalities for water and sanitation infrastructure, including technical engineering, building, and financial management advice. COPTA is allocating funding through the Municipal Infrastructure Grant earmarked for operations and maintenance. The Department of Water and Sanitation has also developed infrastructure asset management guidelines to assist and support municipalities to develop their own operations and maintenance plans. The Department of Water and Sanitation is also promoting the following policy programs and interventions: water conservation and demand management programs to bring water consumption per capita in line with international benchmarks, development of 5-year reliable water and sanitation services, delivery implementation plans through interactive sessions with water service authorities to develop project scoping resulting in 5-year pipeline of projects that are prioritized for grant funding. The Department of Water and Sanitation has also developed infrastructure asset management guidelines to assist and support municipalities to deliver their own operations and maintenance plans. In conclusion, Chairperson, these measures aim to ring-fence revenue for water service and equip water service institutions with the necessary technical and managerial to maintain and operate infrastructure effectively. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now go to the follow-up question, and the first follow-up question will be from Honorable Moimang, who asked the initial question. Honorable Moimang.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Thanks, Deputy President, and honorable colleagues in the House. Africa, Honorable Deputy President, let me express my gratitude to the airline issue responded to the question that I posed, that the Deputy President has raised, and also to appreciate the transfer close to 60 billion that the Deputy President made reference to. However, Deputy President, the reality on the ground is that the outcomes that we see do not match this level of financial investment because of challenges around failure to spend grants, lack of technical capacity, also the challenges around adequacy of operations and maintenance. Now, my question, Deputy President, is to what extent is the Water Plus team assisting the government in utilizing the district development model, not only to deal with the symptoms of challenges around our municipalities, but also to ensure that we have a capable and developmental municipalities that are able to adequately spend allocated funds, and also to ensure that our people have reliable and quality water supply. Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moimang. Honorable Deputy President, you will speak.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Moimang, what we've decided to do with the water task team is really to work through the district development model that you are talking about, because the district development model helps us to reach out to all municipalities together with the province. We're able to get the premiers, we're able to get the mayors, MECs and MCs and municipal managers. Through the district development model, we are able then to reach out to all these areas. What we have done so far is to ensure that through the DDM, we do outreach programs to the various areas, particularly where there are challenges of water. We are then able to assess those challenges. We are then able to suggest interventions that should be made. So far through the district development model, we have been already to the Free State, we have been to KZN, we've been to Gauteng, and we've been also to, we are looking to other provinces as well through these outreach programs as a water task team with the Minister of Water. The Minister has been to other areas as well where I couldn't accompany, like Hammanskraal in Gauteng, that I've been with, for instance, to Limpopo. So yes, I see the district development model being the way in which the water task team will operate in ensuring that we intervene in all these areas to ensure that people receive not only enough water in their areas, but also good quality drinkable water for people to use. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We move to the next follow-up question from the Honorable Dr. Skripal.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, your predecessor, Mr. P. Mabuza, visited Mfuleni local municipality following questions in this House to investigate the water issues. The result has been the Section 63 intervention by the National Department into the water and sanitation services in the municipality's competence. We also know that you have visited there to monitor the process. The results were initially pleasing, but the progress has all but stopped and the regression again has become evident. So my question, has your office continued to monitor this or have you left it up to the department to manage it alone? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Skripal. Deputy Minister, your response to that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, Honorable Member, after I was appointed as Deputy President, I followed up the work that was done by the former Deputy President Mabuza. I visited Mfuleni more than once, initially with the Minister of Water. At the time, it was Mr. Senzo Mtunu. We went to inspect the facilities there, the treatment plants, and you'll recall that at the time people were complaining about this water, the sewer spillages in the various areas, particularly affecting households. We then decided that we will intervene, and at the time, Minister Mtunu then ensured that we upgrade the water treatment plants to ensure that it operates properly. So far, I know that the current Minister of Water and Sanitation, Honorable Pemima Jodina, has also been voting a number of times. So we are monitoring that situation. If indeed there is deterioration, I will inform the Minister that we immediately focus once again in that area. But it is our approach with the water testing that we will visit these areas, particularly where there are water challenges. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honorable Sivisa.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Deputy President. Deputy President, it is concerning to note how the ruling party has deliberately failed to prepare for water provision for our people despite the years of warning. In Amajuba District Municipality, for example, The Brockfontein Reservoir has been under revamping since 2020, and yet to date, the reservoir is still only at 90% completion. Why is it that the reservoir has not been concluded in 5 years after the project was initiated? And why do the communities across provinces continue to face water crises when budgets are allocated year after year for the maintenance and creation of new water infrastructure? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Suisa. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Suisa, yes, it is true that it has taken a bit of time to intervene in some of these areas, particularly because initially the approach was that municipalities themselves should take a responsibility to ensure that they deal with water infrastructure and so on. But we realize that municipalities are actually struggling financially. As a result, a lot of water infrastructure in many areas have not been upgraded. And that leads to leakages and the loss of revenue, water. So what we have done now, if you recall that the President in the State of Nation address this year did indicate that we will be spending about 940 billion rand over the MTF, particularly to support water infrastructure and maintenance and operations in municipalities, particularly struggling municipalities. The metros themselves may have sufficient resources to do this work, but municipalities in rural areas do need the support of national government, and that's what we are going to be doing. We have started that work, and we are ensuring that we deal with this aging infrastructure in many areas to be able to supply water properly to communities. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honorable Nzimande.
No, thank you, Deputy President. Facts are showing growth in non-revenue water owing to infrastructure. One municipality, it is reported that 140,000 liters per day are lost, which translates to 480 million. Well, I want just to ask the Deputy President. We have heard that he's just talking about the plans that are still in the planning stage. That how does the government plan to ensure that the plans they have are sustainable and not just a temporary invention? But secondly, how is the government intending to deal with the challenge that is growing in relation to the percentage of risk for treatment water plants, which is now about 7%. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nzimande. Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Nzimande, we are going to ensure that these plans are sustainable. You will recall that the President last year assented to the South African National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency. Now, this agency is intended to pull this work together nationally up to locals to ensure that we address the challenges of water in all the areas. So I believe that with the implementation of this decision, we are going to be able to deal with these problems decisively. In fact, when the President spoke this morning at the Water Summit, he indicated to the delegates there that we are going to put strict time frames on all these plans. So we're not just going to say, oh yes, we've got plans to deal with challenges of water. We are going to put strict time frames to ensure that all these plans should be implemented by particular date so that we can hold people accountable. So that's a serious manner in which we take, as the president said this morning, that people can't live without water. You may live without other things, but water is a necessity. As I said earlier, water is life. So we are going to ensure that these sustainable plans are monitored and to ensure that there's accountability, to ensure that they are implemented everywhere to ensure improvement that we seek. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the next set of questions, and that is question number 2 that was posed by the Honorable question that deals with service delivery and job creation. Honorable Deputy President, your response to the question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Boshoff, thank you very much for this important question. Honorable members, the National Development Plan 2030 outlines a long-term economic growth strategy focusing on macroeconomic stability, structural reforms, and improved state ability to achieve sustainable growth, address inequality, and promote inclusive growth. As government, we must tackle the financial and operational challenges within our state-owned enterprises to boost growth. Hence, we have introduced a number of initiatives. To this end, government will spend more than 940 billion rand on infrastructure over the next 3 years, including 375 billion in spending by state-owned companies or enterprises themselves. Transnet has developed a 5-year capital investment plan that focuses on infrastructure rehabilitation, capacity expansion, and freight logistics modernization. Transnet will further invest 127.7 billion rand on rail, port, and pipeline infrastructure over the next 5 years to increase network efficiency and boost long-term economic development. The investment plans include, amongst others, rail infrastructure rehabilitation, addressing backlogs in locomotives availability, track maintenance and signaling systems to restore reliability and improve operational efficiency. Number 2, port expansion and modernization. The plan involves increasing container handling capacity at Durban, Ngqura, and Cape Town ports, upgrading bulk commodity terminals, purchasing and refurbishing equipment, and acquiring new trucks to enhance port efficiency. Pipeline infrastructure investments, expanding fuel and gas pipeline capacity to enhance energy security and efficiency in fuel transportation. Given Transnet financial constraints, the funding required for these investments will come from multiple sources, that is the private and public sector, but also including Transnet's own balance sheet. Transnet plans to improve logistics, reliability, support industrial expansion, and facilitate trade growth in South Africa's freight transport system. The country's infrastructure investment goals of 10% rely on successful mobilization of public and private sector capital. Chairperson, the network industries are critical for infrastructure development necessary for economic growth. Therefore, private sector participation in SOEs is key to enable access to capital and capacity required to expand infrastructure in South Africa. On the energy space, Eskom has been able to build more than 4,000 kilometers of transmission lines over the last 10 years. However, the unsuccessful allocation of 3,000 megawatts of wind capacity under Bill 6 has necessitated the expansion of the grid to connect renewable energy. The ESCOM grid still needs to be expanded by more than 14,000 kilometers of lines by 2030. Furthermore, government has announced the launch of independent transmission projects, ITPs, which is a key initiative to transform the country's energy and infrastructure sectors. The ITP process aims to unlock substantial investments in transmission infrastructure, which is crucial for supporting economic growth, attracting private sector participation, and driving innovation in the energy sector. The triple Ps in South Africa can benefit citizens by utilizing private sector resources and expertise to address public needs, improve service delivery, and stimulate economic growth. By aligning government and private sector objectives through consultative and participatory techniques and regular communication, resources can be efficiently used for a larger population. In conclusion, Chairperson, government and the private sector must therefore collaborate to assist ordinary South Africans, especially those from historically disadvantaged communities, to play a meaningful role in the mainstream economy and facilitate the creation of job opportunities, particularly for the youth of our country. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the follow-up questions, and the first follow-up question would be from the Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. First to the Deputy President, and I do my response with a swing, with the music in the background. Deputy President, I'm happy to hear that you are now speaking to private participation, because that's what we've been advocating for years. And in your Financial Times interview, you said that privatization is no longer perceived to be a swear word amongst the ANC contingent. As well, in the recent SONA, the President stressed the need for private sector partnerships to rescue struggling SOEs like Eskom and Transnet. However, Deputy President, despite these statements, we continue to see inefficiencies, mismanagement, and service failures. Given this reality, will you commit right here and now to a clear timeline for private sector participation in Eskom and Transnet? And can you provide a specific deadline for when South Africans will see measurable improvements, or are we again to expect more without action? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Boshoff, for the follow-up question. Yes, Honorable Boshoff, the important thing is that see implementation. In fact, that's what Cabinet is focusing on now. We have enough plans. We must now focus on implementation. So the issues that I'm talking about now, Eskom, Transnet, I'm talking about things that are already in the pipeline. A lot of these processes to ensure public sector participations will be rolling out in the course of this year. And I'm sure that many of them would be concluded before the end of this year to ensure that we see implementation, because it is quite urgent that we sort out the problem of our rail infrastructure, sort out logistics and challenges in our ports. It is also important that we do have capacity in terms of our transmission networks. So some of the processes to invite the private sector are already rolling out as we speak. And I'm sure that we will see in the course of the coming few months that a lot of these agreements with the private sector will indeed be concluded. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The next follow-up question will be taken by the Honorable Nokonyana.
Chairperson and honorable members, I rise, Deputy President, to thank you very much for your elaborate reply. It must be emphasized, Mr. President, Deputy President, that state-owned enterprises play a pivotal role in transforming the economy of South Africa and serve as a vehicle for achieving improved economic growth and reduction of poverty. However, this requires to ensure that they have sound governance systems and structures that are functional, as well as the officials that are skilled to perform their duties. Now, Mr. President, Deputy President, arising from your question, can you assure us that the government, which is led by the African National Congress, will continue in its progressive task to make sure that everyone else sure that the state-owned enterprises are actually in a position to deliver, so that our people can get jobs, and of course, our economy can grow, so that we can all live happy in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nonkanyana. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Nonkonyan. Honorable Nonkonyan, you are quite correct. Our intervention in state-owned enterprises, amongst others, is to ensure that they create jobs in our country. And for them to be able to do so, they must have sound governance structures. They should be managed properly. There shouldn't be corruption in our state-owned enterprises, and plans must be implemented. One of the things that has been done, Honorable Panyami, is to initiate the National State Enterprise Bill, which is currently being processed by Parliament. This bill is going to, among others, set up the State Asset Management Company, which is going to take responsibility to coordinate and ensure that our SOEs in South Africa are operating on a sound basis, and that regular communication, and there will be accountability. So indeed, I can assure this House that these steps are going to be taken. I think as soon as this bill is processed through Parliament, we are now going to focus on implementation and ensure that this asset management company start with its responsibilities of coordinating all these state-owned enterprises, make sure that they are on sound footing, they operate properly, and also help us to create jobs in South Africa, which is one of the biggest challenges that we face currently. So I can't agree with you more that, in fact, that's exactly what we need to be doing, and we will do exactly that. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now move to the next question, and that's Honorable Kesa.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair of the NCOP. Deputy President, the fundamental principle of state-owned enterprises is that they must serve the people and the nation. State-owned enterprises in South Africa are essential for socio-economic development and financial sustainability of the country. However, what has been clear throughout the years is that corruption is detrimental to SOEs itself. Moreover, the AG raised an alarm over Transnet's financial sustainability, mounting liabilities, with staggering debt load of 137 billion, and annual service cost exceeding 40 billion. Reliance on debt, coupled with operational inefficiencies, raised serious concerns over its ability to maintain crucial infrastructure. In light of this, Deputy President, what measures will you put in place to ensure that there are structures of accountability to strengthen governance, oversight in place, including competent and ethical boards and appointment based on merit in all SOEs? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Professor. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The Cabinet has received the report from the Auditor General, and we've noted all the issues that the Auditor General raised with respect to challenges faced by our state-owned companies. There is a very rigorous process of boards to state-owned enterprises, even with government departments. But with state-owned companies, we require a very rigorous process where these boards are interviewed, members of these boards are properly interviewed, processed by ministers, supported by a panel of experts, and they are then submitted to Cabinet for final approval. And once people have applied and are being processed, there's also a very rigorous process that all the applicants are screened properly using state authorities that are given that task. So we are just making sure that when the right people to the boards. I agree with you that we must ensure that boards work effectively, help us to create employment for people, our communities, especially young people. So we are monitoring this process, as I said, and we are going to make sure that the right people with the requisite skills are appointed to any of the boards of our state-owned enterprises to be able to make them successful. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the next follow-up question that comes from the Honorable Vandenberg.
Thank you, Chair. I get to ask a question to you, Deputy President, one that I'm asked a lot, and that is, Deputy President, are you familiar with the dead horse theory? It states that if you ride a dead horse, it is probably best to dismount it. The post office is the best example of such a dead horse, impacting life only by sentiment. Given our budget deficit challenges, is it not at least possible to lighten the economic load by at least putting that dead horse under the ground in order to save some of the other sick horses that are still in the herd? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable President, Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you to Honorable Vandenberg. Yes, the post office has not been doing well for a number of years now. So the Presidential Commission on State-Owned Enterprises has looked at all this number of state-owned enterprises. There are state-owned enterprises that may be matched with others to ensure efficiency. But before we can say that horse must be put down, we just need to go through those reports properly, look at what the challenges are, particularly because, Honorable Vandenberg, you'll know that in rural areas, one of the institutions that really reaches out to the rural areas is the post office, where many institutions don't reach out. Banks, you will find the post office. So it is serving the poorest of the poor. So by the time we say no, this mechanism of a post office is not working, we need to replace it with something that is workable. Because otherwise we can create a gap where we close down the institution and there's a vacuum and people are not being served. And I'm particularly concerned that ordinary poor people in rural areas really rely on the post office to be able to receive services. And therefore, whatever will be done going forward must ensure that in the absence of that institution, there is an alternative that is going to perform those tasks to ensure that those people in rural areas in particular continue to be served in the absence of such an institution. So we will analyze this properly, we'll look at it, and we'll make sure we take the right decision going forward. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. Move on to the next question. That is question number 3 that was posed by the Honorable Majupe. That the question deals with disaster management plans. Honorable Deputy President, your response to that question, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me begin by appreciating this important question by Honorable Majupe. Honorable members, as a country, we face significant risks from climate change, including extreme temperature changes, increased rainfall, floods, and threats to biodiversity and water resources. These natural disasters call for the creation of a climate resilient and disaster management plans at all levels of government. Over the past few weeks, we have seen KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng have been severely impacted by heavy rain or rainfall and flooding, causing significant damage to infrastructure, roads, households, and tragic loss of human life. While provincial and municipal disaster management teams continue to conduct rapid damage assessment to affected communities in order to determine the extent and magnitude of damage and further provide immediate relief to the needy, we have been advised that the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government has already initiated contingency plans to mitigate these and future disasters. These are driven by relevant line function departments in line with their different mandates. Government is also implementing strict measures to expedite the development of climate resilient and disaster management plans by municipalities, ensuring coordinated disaster response across all spheres of government. In this regard, the National Disaster Management Center, NDMC, develops, monitors, and regularly reviews disaster management plans in line with the Disaster Management Act of 2002. The Disaster Management Act mandates all government organs to create disaster management plans to prevent, mitigate, prepare for, and respond to, and recover from disasters. These plans outline investments in line with change adaptation, including ecosystem and community-based approaches. In terms of a unified approach to disaster and preparedness by municipalities and districts, the National Disaster Management Center and provincial disaster management centers are required to develop plans to ensure risk mitigation, public safety, infrastructure resilience, resource allocation, coordination and communication, and public awareness and education. To date, a total of 175 management plans have been submitted to the National Disaster Management Center. We have also been advised that the KZN Provincial Disaster Management Center, PDMC, has provided technical support to 54 municipalities and 12 sector departments in KwaZulu-Natal to develop disaster management plans, thus ensuring coordinated planning and response to disasters. Chairperson, furthermore, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment is responsible for coordinating the creation of vulnerability assessment and climate change adaptation response plans for provincial and district municipalities. All 9 provinces and 44 district municipalities have already developed these plans, requiring resource mobilization from various sectors, including the South African Weather Service Focus and the National Disaster Management Center's hazard profile. We encourage all organs of the state to develop these plans through engagement with all relevant stakeholders to align efforts and streamline responsibilities. In conclusion, Chairperson, however, these engagements must be supported by the development of memorandums of understanding to clarify the roles and responsibilities of the different arms of the states, departments at national, local, provincial, and local level. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We move to the follow-up questions, and the first one will be from the Honorable Medu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Madume Motlatsa Tautuna ya Naga. Honorable Deputy President, it is very clear that climate change is altering the face of disaster risk in our country, not only through increased weather-related risk and sea level and temperature rises, but also through increase in societal vulnerabilities. For example, from stresses on water availability, agriculture, and ecosystems. My question is whether government has looked at ways of using reviews of national disaster management framework to move towards risk reduction and align the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction to improve our national capabilities, particularly those of the municipalities, to respond more effectively to disaster whilst also developing a national climate resilience and disaster management planning framework. So I move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Medupi, for that question. Yes, indeed, in 2015, the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction was established to help government to reevaluate and enhance global management strategies. Where we are now, Honorable Medupi, we have, as the South African government, implemented the Disaster Management Act, which has then allowed us to set up the National Disaster Management Center, the one I just spoke about, the NDMC. And we have now rolled out to provinces where all provinces are required their provincial disaster management centers as well. And of course, this will then assist us to be able not to respond only adequately to disasters, but also to ensure that we can come up with preventative measures, because we think it's important that because we are prone to disasters in many of our provinces now because of climate change, it's important that we focus on preparedness beyond just to ensure that we can respond when there are disasters. So a lot of focus is now put on preparedness to ensure that we can streamline our intervention, increase awareness before the disasters hit. So yes, Honorable Dupe, that is done, and there is coordination now from the National Disaster Management Center with the provincial disaster management centers as well. They are all working together to ensure that we are well equipped and well prepared to deal with the disasters that we will be facing. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We have a question, and that comes from the Honorable Pinar.
Thank you, Chairperson. The President's not here, so I can look him in the eye today. Deputy President, the district development model has failed as expected with any forced centralized system. When will you put an end to this experiment, or are you using the DDM model to regain control at those local municipalities where the ANC has lost the majority? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Pinar. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Pinar, what we are doing with the DDM is to ensure that we do what we call the whole of government approach. In other words, national government, provincial and local government work together to deal with the challenges that our communities are facing. So even with respect to disasters, we find it a very useful approach to use